Review Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. She is a feminine leadership and cycle sensing coach, none other than Miss Renee Fiecki.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Miss Renee, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more by yourself that I miss?
Yeah, totally. I am an occupational therapist by trade. So, my background is in the body, in the nervous system, understanding the body and how it really works, how it impacts the way we show up. And a few years ago, I really wanted to build a business that created more freedom for me and my family, and found myself hustling a lot trying to build that business. And then in that, discovered like how men and women's bodies are so different and how it impacts the way women think and breathe and like create and literally everything, and kind of overhauled the way I was working and took me from this place of feeling just totally burnt out and exhausted into a place of creating so much more ease and flow and permissioning and feeling just so much better. And so that has been a big part. That has been my journey. That is what has brought me here to now teaching and sharing that with other women, because it makes such a huge difference in the way we show up. And nobody talks about it. Nobody knows about it. So that's what we're here to talk about.
Nobody talk about it, and today the time management hack. No one's
Yeah.
talking about it. So can you tell about this topic of yours, Miss?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, I mean, for majority of us, we know kind of like how men and women are different, but we don't really understand the ins and outs of it. So just a quick little like bio review is that men function on testosterone. Testosterone has a cycle of 24 hours. So you wake up in the morning with a fresh dose of testosterone. It kind of goes up and down a little bit as the day goes on. And then you go to bed, it's a little bit depleted. You wake up the next day with a fresh dose. Whereas women have estrogen and progesterone that plays out very differently over the course of the month. So in the beginning, all of our hormones are pretty low, and then the estrogen starts to climb. And then as estrogen climbs, we start to feel really amazing. We feel ready to go. We're ready to crush big projects. We're feeling really creative. We've got lots of new ideas. We feel confident. We're ready. We're crushing off the to-do list. And then when estrogen dips off right after we've ovulated, progesterone kicks in. And when progesterone kicks in, it has a completely different feel. It oftentimes is characterized, a lot of people feel very moody and emotional. They want to touch away from the world and all of those pieces. And so, really, a lot of the work that I do is helping women understand that process, like understand what's happening and kind of using it to your advantage. So, no longer is like our cycles and our hormones becoming something where we have good weeks and bad weeks. It's understanding the strengths of each of those weeks and really tapping into it. So those weeks when you might feel really emotional, you might feel really overwhelmed. A lot of my clients are like, I want to burn my whole business down. I don't want to do any of it. I can't handle any of it. Those are the times of the month when we tap into what that cycle strength is. So, it's like the really great intuitive time. It's a really great time, or not intuitive time, like releasing time. It's a really great time to release big emotions. It's a good time to really dig into those triggers. It's a good time to really create some expansion and healing and all those types of things. So it's understanding how each of those different phases impacts us and working with it rather than kind of just fighting it all the time, which is what a lot of women are doing.
Interesting, Miss
Yeah.
Renee. And we all about to-do list, a time blocking. What is the
Mhm.
fundamental flow in these common methods that your unspoken hack uniquely
Yeah.
corrects?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, just understanding like there's so much that we know about how our brains work just as human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And time blocking and time management and how we integrate that. A lot of times, a lot of the research we've seen is that when we block similar tasks together on our calendar and we get ourselves into a little bit of a flow state, we focus better, we get more done, we're more productive. The problem is that a lot of women will put that block on their calendar, and they'll get there and they're like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work on this maybe writing project. And so you're like, put it on your calendar, you get there, it's on the calendar, But then you get there and your brain is like, I can't handle it. I can't focus. I can't create. I can't write. And you feel like your writer's block. So you're kind of fighting it the entire time. So
Mm-hmm.
really it's kind of this like cycle blocking is kind of the combination of time blocking with understanding your cycle. So we put those time blocks in our calendar very strategically, knowing where your brain and where your body is going to be able to focus. So what the research now on the brain really shows is that a woman, as she moves throughout the menstrual cycle, her brain is highlights different areas, like different areas of the brain are highlighted or more active. And so there are going to be times when, you know, those more creative focused centers are lit up, or maybe more of your language centers are lit up. And so it's putting those time blocks in the calendar very strategically to know when they're going to be, so that you maximize on the efficiency when you're in those work blocks.
Efficiency indeed. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing your knowledge for empowering women all over the world.
Yeah.
With the constant stream of productivity advice, why has this particular hack remain in the shadows if it's counterintuitive,
Mm.
too simple, or does it challenge a core belief we have about work?
Yeah. I mean, I think it challenges a very big core belief. We, especially in Western kind of world, we very focus on production, we focus on achievement. There's a lot of push for continued growth. If we're not continually growing, we're falling backwards. Where it's all about growing, it's all about scaling, it's always about becoming something more. And we highlight so much on that upward trajectory. And as a society, we don't oftentimes look at the cycle of going backwards. We don't look at
Mm-hmm.
the cycle of falling off or the cycle of breakdown, right?
Yes.
And when we look at just the way the world is in general, it is very cyclical, right? Like a woman's cycle very much reflects the cycles that exist within our world, whether it's the seasons of the year, whether it's the way the moon functions around the earth, whether, you know, we see even the planetary changes, like their cycles and rhythms and things like that. Even men have cycles. It's this understanding and this belief that we should just be going and pushing and growing all of the time. When we look at the way the soils, you know, like us, is we like want to produce crops, we want to produce food all year long. And so what we've done is we've like forced the soils to go into nutrient depleted soils because we've overproduced, we've overused. There's no longer the same, like an apple that we buy at the grocery store, it doesn't have the same nutritional value in it that it did 50 years ago, because we're so stuck in that belief that continued growth, continued production. So yeah, like the idea of tapping into a menstrual cycle and the rhythm of the cycle, and that there are actual seasons that we need to pull back. There are seasons that we need to rest. There are seasons that it's kind of like our winter, our inner winter. It does challenge a very core fundamental belief in the way that we see the world. I think there's also a lot of, you know, wrestling with women. Like women came into the workforce when all of at the time it was men predominantly in the workforce, and so we were trying to produce and perform at the same level and the same caliber as men were, and doing it in the same way that they were trying to appease and kind of fit in that space. And so doing it in a different way wasn't accepted at that point in time. And I think right now we're just like in this new era to see, wow, there are different ways of approaching work. There are different ways of producing. There are different ways to still achieve the same results, but it not look the same way in the way we perform it.
What was your own
Yeah.
breaking point with traditional time
Mm,
management that led you to discover and develop this specific approach, Miss
yeah.
Renee?
Yeah. So it was probably about 9 years ago. My husband was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I found out that I was pregnant and had gotten what I thought was my dream job all in the same month. And really kind of came face to face with that reality of the fact that we don't live forever and we are never
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed tomorrow. So if I'm not guaranteed tomorrow, am I living today the way that I really want to be living? And at the time, it wasn't. It was very much focused on the one day someday down the road when things get easier, the one days down the road when life changes, when the kids are grown or whatever it might be. It was always projecting forward into life will be what I want it to be in the future. And that experience really made me realize like we don't have the future guaranteed. So if you want to live the best life, the most fulfilling life, the life that you like really truly dream about, you have to make that happen today. Like you cannot wait. And that's what propelled me into business, but I
Mhm.
followed all of the other business strategies that people had been teaching me, and as a mom with 3 young kids, at the time I had 3 kids under 6, I was working at the hospital, and then my husband couldn't drive because of the brain tumor and seizures and things like that. So literally everything was falling on me. And
Mhm.
just hustled my butt off for a very long time
Mhm.
and couldn't do it. Like, no matter what strategies I pulled in, no matter what tools I pulled in, there wasn't enough left of me to manage all of it and still take care of myself. Like, there was something in my life giving, and most of the time it was me. It was taking care of myself. It was, making sure I was well slept or exercising or eating well or any of the things. It was me that was always getting left behind. Yeah.
Mm. And Miss Renee, if you had to distill this entire hack into a single powerful sentence, what would it be?
Mm. I would say that listening to your body and tapping into your own intuition is one of the greatest gifts that you'll ever receive and will be the biggest permission you will ever feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, what is the
Yeah.
very first concrete action someone takes to implement these hacks to at the start of their day, or how is different from just looking at a calendar?
Totally. So I always tell my clients like the number one thing is asking every single day, what does my body need today? Because regardless of where your menstrual cycle's at, or what's happening there in your body, there's always going to be other factors too. Maybe you didn't sleep very well one night, maybe you had a rough conversation with your partner the day before. There's always going to be other variables, but that skill and that tool of being able to actually listen to what your body needs, I think it's one of the biggest missing pieces for both men and women and all across the board in our society, because we are going so fast. There's always information coming at us. There's always somewhere to be. There's always something to do. That act of actually being able to stop and be still and listen to what our body's actually speaking to us is greatly that's what's the word, greatly unused. Like, people are not doing it. And I think it's also one of the biggest contributors to our society right now in terms of the mental health. The mental health of our countries and state world right now is like people are feeling so anxious, they're feeling depressed, they're feeling lonely, they're feeling disconnected. We see a huge rise in mental health issues. We're also seeing a huge rise in things like chronic pain and disease and all of these things. And I think a big part of it comes back to the fact that we're so disconnected from actually listening to our bodies. So, whether it's from a mental health perspective, whether it's for a physical perspective, whether it's a time blocking perspective, whether it's just like self care, like the actual act of pausing, whether that's in meditation, whether that's like breath work, whether that's literally like sitting in your car at the stoplight and just saying, like, oh my gosh, what does my body need today? That is always my first step, because it changes the game when people actually start listening to, like, wow, I've actually had this really bad ache in my shoulder and I don't know what's going on to it. And then they listen to it. We can oftentimes circumvent so many issues. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase where, like, your body will send you a feather, and are you paying attention to the feather? If not, it's going to send you a rock, and if you're not paying attention to the rock, it's going to send you a bus, right? So it's like, how can we get really good at listening when it throws us the feather before we actually get hit with the bus? So
Yes.
yeah.
Listen to the feather, people.
Yes.
So, Mr. Renee, as a feminine leadership and cycle sensing coach, what are your short term and long term goals?
Ooh, great question. I have a personal like goal to see the book hit 1 million people. Like I would love to see my book in the hands of 1 million women. I think that would, it's like, I think it would change so much. I think one of my other big goals is really like deep down, I know that I'm meant to help women find the permission to live their dream lives, to be able to build a business they love, to be able to have the family they love, to be able to travel the way they want, to just be okay doing it in the way that feels in alignment and feels really good for them. And so I am on a mission to make that happen. Really, it's about just highlighting and championing the dreams and the desires that women have and being able to ripple that into the world. I think women, not to say men don't, but women also have like very strong desires to create change and heal and create an impact in the world. And I want women to be able to feel able to do that and still be present for their families and to be able to do all of the other parts of life and still bring those visions into the world. So, yeah, that's a huge goal for me.
Huge goal, and good luck to
Yeah.
your goals,
Thank you.
Miss Renee. I'm looking forward for more success. And what
Yeah.
will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh, well, who wants to be like me? No, I'm kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, my piece of advice, I would like going after your goals and after your dreams is one of those things that I think I've just had to get really comfortable and really good with one failure. I've failed more times than I could possibly count. But I think it's the act of failing and deciding that every single day is a choice. I think it's we get to choose how we see all of the circumstances we interact with. So whether, we put this big thing out there and it doesn't go the way we want it to, we get to choose to see whether that's a failure in our book or if it's a lesson that we learned and that we're able to improve and move on from. There were a lot of experiences when I started my business. I very much would check it off as like, oh, that didn't work. I'm going to move over here and I'm going to try something new. And oh, that didn't work. And I kind of perpetuated the cycle of, I don't have what it takes and I don't know what I'm doing and this isn't working for me. And it wasn't until I switched the frame of reference and the lens and started seeing it from a place of these are all just experiments. These are all things that I get to learn from. It's all a choice. We can look at the same, two people can look at the same experience and see it from two totally different places. And I think when we understand that and we understand the power that we have to look at our circumstances and where we want to go, it changes the game in so many ways. And even looking at like right now, the the way that we script out the way we're living right now is predicting where we're going to go in the future. So if we're constantly in this state of perpetuating like it's failing, it's not working, I don't know why this is not happening, it's not happening the way I want it to, we're perpetuating that into our futures as well. And so it's this lesson of really getting good about managing our energy of like, where's our focus? Where's our attention? What are we giving our fuel to? Because that fuel is what's going to drive what's going forward. So just getting really good and intentional about like the power that you actually have with your energy and your focus and your attention, because that changes the game in so many ways.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
advice, Miss
Yeah.
Renee. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence you, Johnny?
Yeah. One of my favorites, it's one I go back to oftentimes, is called Happy Pocket Full of Money. I love kind of just going back through it. It's one of those ones too, like it just keeps bringing me back into this energy of abundance, of about how much is available to us, how much we already have. It's one of the ones that continually reminds me of like how amazing life can be no matter what your circumstances look like, and to choose that every single day. And so I love that one. That one's been a huge one. I would say that's probably the biggest one that I go back to over and over again.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, and thank you for the recommended book, Miss Renee. And in an era of increasing AI and automation, why will
Mhm.
these very human-centric hack become even more critical?
Great question. Yeah, with AI coming in, it's it's critical. Like people want to feel seen, people want human relationship, people want connection. I think when we look at AI in the sense of efficiency and getting things done, it's great and it's wonderful, but at the core, people still want human to human. We still want relationship, we still want connection. We don't want to feel like we're just another robot. I know for me personally, inside my business, there's a few things that we intentionally have kept away from automating or doing some sort of AI tool. Even a friend of mine recently was like, you could have AI do that for you and respond to all these messages and train it really well, and it'll respond to these messages as if it's you. And I said, I understand that, but I don't want to, because I know that it makes a huge difference. And in that week, there was multiple people who had messaged me saying, is this a human on the other side, or is this just an AI robot, right? Is this a bot, or is this somebody, am I actually talking to people? And when
Mm-hmm.
they find out they're actually talking to people, they open up more. They want to share, they want to talk to you. People, I think we get frustrated, I at least do, get really frustrated when I'm trying to get, customer service support and I'm going round and round and round with their like AI robot. And I was like, dude, just give me a human, like give me a person who's going to actually solve my problem. And I think that's one component, but I think that there's another piece of like our energy as a human. A robot can't do that. Like an AI system can't relay our energy. So the emotion that we're feeling, the connection that we're feeling when we write the words, like we send that out energetically. There's a frequency in our words, there's a frequency in the way we write that goes beyond what AI can do. And I think it's going to become more and more valuable as time goes on. So I love AI. I love integrating AI into parts and pieces of my business. Like even we're recording on Riverside right now. Like Riverside's AI tools are getting really good. Like be able
Mm-hmm.
to create clips or to create graphics or like whatever they do and like use it in those ways in that capacity. But when it comes to humanity, like let's see each other as humans and like in our humanity and in our realness and in our rawness that has a wide spectrum of emotions that feel all sorts of things. Like I think that's one of the most beautiful things about being a human too, is as that we can't experience the depths of grief and sadness without being able to experience the highs of joy and happiness and love, and that without one or the other we wouldn't have the fullest sense of human experience, right? And so kind of looking at it in that way too, of like I'm here to live the fullest human experience that I have, and that's in my fullest expression of emotion and sensations and feelings and in my body, and to connect with other people that are doing that too. And I think, AI will never be able to take that away from us. Yeah.
Definitely authenticity for sure. And Miss Renee, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting
Yeah.
you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101, music 101 are in fourth season, science 101, sex 101 second season, and my baby podcast, law 101, mental health 101, and Bible verses 101. Please listen to them wherever
Mm,
you listen your podcast. So, Miss Renee,
it's
finally,
okay.
if you could give our audience one single actionable command to embody this philosophy starting tomorrow, what would it
Mhm.
be?
Mm. I would say again, going back to like listening to your body, but I think if you're a woman, to like really start tracking your cycle, really start learning to listen to that. If you're not a woman, I would say just listening to your body every single day, asking those questions, embracing like a stillness practice where you can actually sit still and be quiet. And maybe that looks like, putting a block on your Instagram or putting a block on Facebook or turning off notifications or quieting the noise just a little bit so that you can actually create the space to actually listen to yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
listen to yourself indeed. And Miss Renee, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you for empowering women all over the world. So, can you please
Thank you.
invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your projects, or anything you want to promote on Book 101?
For sure. I would be happy to give any of your audience that's in the United States a free copy of the book. You just go to reneefic.com/free book and you can grab a free copy there. If you are outside the United States, send me a message and I'll get you an alternate audio version. But that would be it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, people. Best-selling author, and thank you so much for sharing again your book to the world, Miss Renee.
Thank you.
And people, let's support Miss Renee Fig, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy will rise. More and more empowering books like this will come. So, Miss Renee, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
More to come, people. See you soon.